Welcome to the lecture Machining Technology, and we are discussing analysis of orthogonal machining. So in the last class we have discussed the heat generation, how the heat is generated in the machining operation, and the effect of heat generation, and how to measure the temperature or the heat during a machining operation. So today we will discuss the tool failure and tool life. How a tool fails, under which conditions the tools are failing, and what are the effect of tool failures, what are the material properties of a tool material. All the things we are discussing, we are going to discuss today. So let's start the lecture. So this is the model, as you know, which is a machining operation where the tool is removing some amount of material from the workpiece, and this is the chip, this is the rake plane, this is the clearance plane of the flank surface. So we are discussing tool failure. So how cutting tool fails, means how to know that whether the tool is fail or not, under what condition the cutting tool fails, that we have to know first. So the cutting tool generally fail by mechanical breakage due to excessive forces and shocks. So here generally the brittle fracture is the region. You can see here during machining operation, as the tool is moving along this axis, so there will be certain force from the workpiece material on these cutting edges. So due to the excessive force, some vibration will taking place, and the tool material will get some shocks. So here you can see, as the tool material is made up of very hard material, which is a brittle material, so there will be sometimes brittle fracture occurs and the tool is damaged. So this is the one reason of the tool failure, which is the mechanical breakage. Next, the quick dulling of the cutting edges. So this quick dulling means here the cutting tool is dull. How the cutting tool is dulling? It is because of the plastic deformation. How the plastic deformation will occur here? Because if you see here in the rake face of the tool, the chip is continuously on common contact on the rake face. So at this region, there will be excessive heat and high pressure. So because of excessive heat, temperature will increase, and because of this increase in temperature, the tool material get plastic deformation, and the cutting edge at this particular rake face, the cutting edge will become dull. So in that way, the second way of failing a cutting tool. And next, the gradual wear of the cutting tool. Here gradual wear means it is a slow process, but after some times you can see the damage in a macro level, means micro level, and this is also where it is normally shown in the rake face of the tool and the flank face of the tool. So what is the specialty about the gradual wear is that we can't means prevent this wear. This wear can't be prevented. The gradual wear, we can't prevent this wear, and during operation it's obvious that this type of wear you can see in a machining operation because of this contact between chip and tool and this workpiece. So as it is can't be prevented, but in the same time we can decelerate this wear, means the growth of the gradual wear can be decelerated or can be slow, so that the tool life or the life of the tool will be increased. But at the same time you can prevent, like mechanical breakage and the plastic deformation, it can be prevented during machining operation. Who will prevent this type of effect or defect? Means the who manufacture the cutting tools and the person who uses the cutting tool, they can prevent these two type of wear, which is because of the mechanical breakage and the quick dulling because of the plastic deformation. But the gradual wear, it can be prevented, but the rate of the wear growth can be controlled. So next is condition of deciding criteria of the tool failure. So how will you decide whether a tool is failed or not? By saying what are the parameters you have to see that, you have to say that okay, the tool is failed. So if you see during the machining operation, the tool is continuously removing some amount of material from the workpiece. So how to understand whether the tool is failed or not? And if suppose the tool is failed, then the material can't be machined, so machinability also get lost, and because of that tool failure, the machine also may be damaged. So we have to understand the tool failure during the operation, and we can do the necessary action, like we can change the tool or we can regrind the tool after seeing that the tool is completely failed. So for that, in R&D laboratory, some conditions are there, like in R&D laboratories, how they are deciding whether the tool is failed or not, and in machining industry, how they are deciding the tool failures. So in R&D laboratories, they normally see the total breakage of the cutting tool or cutting tool tip. So if the cutting tool will break completely or the tool tip is get damaged, then you can say the tool is failed. Then massive fracture at the cutting edges. If the cutting edges is blunt or something, some fracture will have occur in the cutting edges, then you can say the tool will fail. Excessive rise in the cutting forces and vibration. So if during machining operation, if you can sense that the vibration is very high and their cutting forces are very high, then you can say the tool is failing or the tool is fails. And gradual wear reaches their limits. The gradual wear which are taking place during the operation, if they reaches their extreme limits, then you can say the tool is failed. Likewise, the machining industry, they are also have certain conditions to know whether the tool is failed or not. Like they say excessive current or power consumption. So during machining operation, if you are consuming more excessive power or excessive current, then you can say the tool is failed or the tool is not good. We have to change the tool. Next, the excessive vibration and sound beyond limits. So if you are sensing more vibration and some noisy sounds and some irritating sounds, then you can say then machining is not good and the tool is damaged or tool is break. Next, total breakage of the cutting tool or tool tips. So if tool is break or the cutting tool tips is break, then you can say the tool is failed. Next, if you see some dimensional deviations beyond tolerance, if you are doing machining operation and you are getting some dimensional deviation or inaccuracy in the dimension, then you can say the whatever the feed or depth of cut we are giving, we are not able to achieve that one, or we are achieving something else, then you can say the tool is failed. Next, rapid worsening of surface finish. If surface roughness we are getting is more and more, then you can say the tool is failed. And adverse chip formation. Some different type of chip, if you are forming, suppose you are doing ductile material and you are getting some your discontinuous chip or something else, then you can say the tool is not good, the tool is failed, and you have to change the tool. So these are the conditions to decide whether the tool failed or not, which is by the R&D laboratories and by the machining industry. Next, mechanism of tool wear. So the tool wear, if you see the tool failure, then normally the tool is failed because of this plastic deformation and the mechanical breakage, and the third one is the gradual wear. So the above two, like the mechanical breakage and plastic deformation, we can prevent, or that can be prevented by the manufacturer of the tool manufacturer and the person who is using the cutting tool. But the tool wear, it can't be prevented. Only you have to know, if you understand the mechanisms, how the tool wear is generating, or how the tool wear is, what are the effects of tool wear, how it is forming, how it is the formation of tool wear, then it can be decelerated or it can be slow. The growth of the tool wear may be reduced. So that's why you are studying the mechanisms of tool wear. So like there are different mechanisms. So one is the mechanical wear, next thermochemical wear, next chemical wear, and galvanic or electrochemical wear. So these are the different mechanisms of tool wear. One is mechanical wear, thermochemical wear, chemical wear, and galvanic or electrochemical wear. So what is mechanical wear? Mechanical wear generally two types: thermally insensitive type and thermally sensitive type. What is thermally insensitive type? Means which is not sense, depends upon your temperature, and it is depends upon the temperature. So it doesn't sense the, it is not because of the temperature this type of wear you are getting, because of temperature only you are getting this type of wear. So what is thermally insensitive type? Like abrasion, chipping, delamination, etc. What is abrasion? Abrasion is nothing but your attrition, searing, and your scratch in the tool. Those are called abrasion. Chipping means the damage of the cutting tool or cutting edge in the tool, means small chip away the small portion of the cutting tool edge. Then you can call this a chipping. And delamination means from the rake face of the tool or from the flank face of the tool. If your material is continuously a very small amount of material is going into the chip, then you can call it a delamination. So these are all are thermally insensitive, not because of temperature, it is because of mechanical. Then thermally sensitive types are adhesion, fracturing, and flaking. What is adhesion? Adhesion means normally if you see at this point the temperature is very high. So because of high temperature, the chip or the workpiece material, chip material, and the tool, they will get welded. So at this weld, so if you consider any welding joint, so the welding joint is not break at the weld zone. It is simply break, means besides weld zone at certain distance. So the type of tool wears are the mechanical wear, thermochemical wear, chemical wear, and galvanic or electrochemical wear. So mechanical wear, again, it is thermally insensitive type and thermally sensitive type. So thermally insensitive means it is not sensitive to temperature, or it doesn't depends upon temperature. And thermally sensitive type means it is because of temperature only you are getting this type of wear. So in thermally insensitive type wear, abrasion, chipping, and delamination, etc. So what is abrasion? Abrasion is nothing but the attrition, the searing, and scratching in the tool material or in the cutting tool, that is called abrasion, which doesn't depends upon temperature. It is all because of the friction between tool chip and tool and workpiece. Next, chipping. Chipping is nothing but the chip away of some amount of material from the cutting tool edge or the cutting edge of the tool. So that is called chipping, which is damage of the edge of the cutting tool or cutting edge of the tool. And delamination means you can see here from the rake face, here there is friction between chip and tool. So at this phase, continuously some amount of material goes into the chip, means it is a gradual type of wear, which is also called crater wear. We will see in the next, means here we will discuss in this class. So this is called delamination, means some amount of material continuously goes into the chip because of the friction at chip tool interface. And thermally sensitive type, which is sensitive to the temperature or heat, that is first one is adhesion. Adhesion means joining up two materials like welding. So here you can see at this region there will be high temperature. So because of high temperature, the chip material and tool material get welded. So at that zone, if you consider one welding zone, then what happens in welding zone? The material always means separated, not at this weld zone particularly. It's only break either one side of the welding zone, because the welding zone, the joint is the strength of the joint is very high, so it generally doesn't break, but always the material break either one side of the welding joint. So if Again, it is sliding, continuously sliding, the chip is sliding on this rake face. So if it slides on this side, and it will break either in this side or at this side of this zone. So if it break in this side, then we are saying that is a formation of built up edge, means the chip is get attached to this rake face and it acts like another cutting edge, so it is called built up edge. And if it break this side, then it will take some amount of tool material into the with the chip, means some amount of tool material will goes into chip. So that's why it is in this way the tool is damaged by adhesion. Next is fracture. The fracture is because of high temperature gradient. The fracture will occur in the tool material. And flaking. Flaking means again it is related to the built-up edge. So material goes out along with the built-up edge, that is called flaking. So these are the thermally sensitive type of material, means tool wear, and which is a mechanical wear. Next, thermochemical wear. So you can see there are two types of wear: macro diffusion by mass dissolution and micro diffusion by atomic migration. So generally it is a diffusion wear. And what is diffusion wear? Diffusion wear means in the rake face of the tool, you can see there is continuously the tool and chip comes in contact in the rake face, and it is a very intimate zone of high pressure and high temperature. In this zone you can see the temperature is very high and pressure also very high. So there is a chances of that some amount of material from the workpiece may come into tool, or some amount of tool material goes into workpiece or go to the chip. So this migration of material either from chip to tool or tool to chip it can be occur at this zone. So if the chip material comes to the tool material, then all the chip material migrate to the tool material, then nothing will happen, means it will not damage the tool material, because you can see the workpiece material is always lesser strain than tool material, so it will not damage to the tool. But in the reverse case, like if the tool material if the tool material is going into the chip, then we can say there will be reduce of cutting tool material and the tool will damage. So material from tool goes into chip, or from the chip material comes into tool material. So it happens only when it will happens. It will happens only when the tool material and the workpiece material has mutual solubility. If they are mutually soluble, then this type of wear will happen at this zone. So this migration of materials happen only when the tool material and the chip material has mutual solubility. Means if they are soluble mutually, then this type of migration of the material will happen, and that is called the diffusion wear. So which is normally depends upon the temperature. If temperature is very high, then the rate of diffusion or the diffusion wear will be more. So suppose consider this is a cutting tool of suppose tungsten carbide or a carbide tool. So the cobalt in this tool material will diffuse with the workpiece because of the diffusion wear, or both tungsten cobalt at a time they are diffused with the chip material and they will goes out, so the tool will damage. So if the tool material is diffusing at a time in bulk amount, then that is called macro diffusion by mass dissolution. And if it is suppose first cobalt will diffuse, then cobalt atom will diffuse, and then after some time the tungsten atom will diffuse, then that is called micro diffusion by atomic migration. So here the diffusion is taking place atom by atom, not at a time in a bulk amount. So that's why it is called micro diffusion by atomic migration. And here at a time bulk material will diffuse, so it is called macro diffusion by mass dissolution. Next, chemical wear. So chemical wear, when it happens, when the cutting tool material is not chemically inert, means if the cutting tool material has affinity to react with some different type of chemicals, then this type of wear you can see, but it will not a means you can't see this type of wear everywhere, so it is very rare. Next is galvanic or electrochemical wear. What is electrochemical wear? It is nothing but your electrochemical dissolution. And what is electrochemical dissolution? You have already studied in the if two material, if you connect electrically, one is material to anode, one material to cathode, and if you put in a bath of electrolyte, then there will be ion taking place, or the movement of the ion from anode to cathode. So the material from the anode start reduced and it will attach to the cathode. So likewise, in the cutting operation, at the rake phase, at this phase, when two materials, means one is tool material, one is cutting material, they are at a point where high temperature and high pressure, high heat. So because of this high temperature and high pressure, the electricity will be generated by thermocouple effect. So if you are using coolant at this point of time, then this coolant will act as a electrolyte. So because of thermocouple effect, electricity is there, so it will act like a anode and cathode, and the coolant will act as an electrolyte. So there will be some amount of material from the anode will goes into the cathode and will reduce the tool material or the damage the tool material. So that is called galvanic or electrochemical wear, which is normally used in advanced machining process like a non-traditional machining process as electrochemical machining. So this galvanic or electrochemical wear is a principle of metal removal also. So you will study in non-traditional machining that electrochemical machining, where the same principle like electrochemical dissolution will occur, and you can see the removal of material because of this principle, electrochemical dissolutions, where materials are attached to workpiece material attached to the anode and tool material will attach to the cathode, and there will be dissolution of material from the workpiece to tool, and we will get the removal. We can achieve the removal of material from the workpiece. So that is electrochemical machining. We will see in the details in non-traditional machining subjects. So these are the types of wear or the mechanisms of wear which is forming in the machining operation. So this wear can be reduced or can be, the growth of the wear may be slow by using, if we know properly what type of wear it is, then we can reduce the growth of the wear. Next, the general pattern of tool wear. So normally in any machining operation, if you see, so there are only two types of, means most of the machining process you can see the two prime tool wear or gradual wear, that is one is crater wear, one is flank wear. Crater wear means you can see in the rake phase a small depression, or it is called crater in the rake phase, which is called crater wear, and flank wear means this type of the flank surface of the tool, both in major and minor flank, we will see this type of stress, which is called wear, that is flank wear. So flank wear, it will, you can see in the flank surface, major flank, minor flank, and in the crater wear in the rake surface of the tool. So these are the two types of tool wear, crater and flank, or which is also a gradual wear, which you can see in most of the machining process. So if you see the, by taking the same image or a microscope, then it looks like this. So this is crater wear, which is in the crater, which looks like a crater in the rake face of the tool, and in the flank surface we can see this type of impression, that is flank wear. And this is the nose radius, you can see. Next, gradual wear failure mainly take place due to two types of wear mechanisms. So one is crater wear, one is flank wear. So what is crater wear? Wear taking place on the rake face of the tool, like a crater is called crater wear. And this is caused due to the presence of friction in the chip tool interface, the abrasive action of microchips, and abrasive action of fragments of built-up edge present in the chip tool interface. So normally, because of the friction in the chip tool interface, the small microchips which is attached to the rake face, and there will be continuously some abrasive action taking place, and because of that only the amount from the rake face will get into chip, and you will see one crater or a small impression, that is called crater wear. Likewise, the flank wear, this wear is taking place on the flank face of the tool, and the flank wear which is caused due to the presence of friction at the tool work interface, which is normally the abrasive action of microchips which are present at the tool and work interface. It is one type of diffusion wear which is occur due to the abrasive action of microchips which are present in the tool and work interface. So these are the two gradual wear which you can see mainly in any machining operation. One is crater wear, another one is flank wear. Crater wear is you can see in the rake face, flank wear will get in the flank face of the tool. So suppose this is one tip type turning tool where the tip is using in the solder, and if you see this region, it looks like this in the microscope, or if you take on same image, then it will get. So this is the crater wear, this is the flank wear. Okay, single point cutting tool. So normally this is the photographic view of the wear pattern of a turning tool insert. So insert type or tip type tool. And if you see a milling cutter, so here also there is one tipped, different inserts are there. You can see this is one insert, bottom also one insert here. And if you see, it looks like this. So this is the crater wear, and this is the flank wear in the flank face. Here the different cutting edges. So this is actual view and photographic view of the wear pattern of face milling insert. Next, the effect of tool wear. So we are considering or talking about only the tool wear other than its own failure. So what are the effects we will get because of the tool wear? So the tool wear can increase the cutting forces and temperature in a metal cutting operation, and it will also increase the dimensional deviation and surface roughness. So if the tool is wear, then you can't get the actual dimension. So there will be always some deviation between the machine dimension and the actual dimension, and the surface also will not get any smooth surface, or the surface roughness is very high if the tool is wear. It will increase the vibration and noise in the process. It will worsen the surface integrity of the machine surface, and unfavorable changes in the chip formation you can see if the tool is wear, and it mechanically weakening of the tool tips. The tool tip is completely damaged. Next, the essential properties of the tool materials. So what are the properties should have a tool material before going for machining operation? So the tool material should have high mechanical strength so that it will absorb all the vibration and the forces which are whatever induced in the machining operation without fracture. Next, the fracture toughness of the tool material should be high or at least adequate. Next, high hardness for abrasion resistance. So the tool material should have high hardness. So sometimes what happens, even though the hardness of the tool is very high, but in machining operation, because of the heat generation and because of that heat, the temperature will induced very high. So at high temperature, the tool material or the material start losing its hardness. That is called hot hardness temperature. So the tool material should have enough hot strength or hot hardness properties, so that in high temperature also it will maintain its hardness without losing the hardness. Next, it should be chemically stable or inertness, so it will not react with any chemical whenever coming into contact. So the tool material should be of chemically inertness. Next, it is resistive to adhesion and diffusion. It should be resistive to all the adhesion and diffusion type of wear. Thermal conductivity should be less at the surface and high at the core. So the thermal conductivity of the tool material should be less at the surface and high at the core. So why less at the surface? Because the heat, whatever the heat the tool material is gaining from the chip or the friction, it should resist the heat without, so the tool material should not allow that heat to come into inside the material, even though it will not able to resist, the heat should be dissolved in the or dissipate in the core suddenly. So that's why it should be the conductivity of the material, thermal conductivity of the material should be less at the surface and the conductivity should be high at the core of the cutting tool. So if the conductivity is very high, then the heat, whatever the heat absorbed by the tool, it will easily dissipate that heat, and at the surface it will, as it is very less, so it will not allow much amount of heat to absorb by the tool. So the tool material should have less thermal conductivity at the surface and high thermal conductivity at the core. High heat resistance and stiffness. The stiffness of the tool material should be high. The tool material should be manufacturable, or it should be available, or it is of low cost. And at the same time, the tool material should be safe and easy in handling. So these are the essential properties of the tool material. So whenever you are selecting some tool material, then you have to at least focus on this factor such that you will not get, or you can prevent the gradual wear or the damage of the cutting tool. Next, measurement of tool wear. So how to measure the tool wear so that we can say the tool, or we can calculate the tool life, or we can go for the new tool, or we can go for the regrind of the old tool. If we know the amount of tool wear, then only you can go for such type of necessary action. So for that, you can easily measure the tool wear from loss of weight or volume of the tool in one lifetime. So during operation, before operation, you can measure the tool weight, and after running for 1 hour or 2 hours, you can measure the tool weight or the volume of the tool, and you can compare how much volume it reduced in the tool material, how much weight is reduced after machining in the tool material. If it is not less, if it is very less, then you can say the tool is, again you can use the tool, and if it is very high, you are getting that initial volume and after final volume there is very much difference, large difference, then you can say the tool life is over. You can go for the new tool, or you can go for the regrind of that tool. Next one is grooving and indentation methods. So grooving means, again we can take the tool or the tool material, you can make a indentation in the tool in the different on the rake face. So if it have some crater or some defects, then the indentation will get in the tool rake face will not be proper. And suppose a square indentation head you are using, so if you make indentation in the rake face, then from the shape and size of the indentation mark, you can say that whether the tool is wear or not. Like in hardness testing, before you can see ball indenter or hexagonal indenter or diamond indenter. So the impression, by seeing the impression, you can see what type of indenter is used. So in rake face, if the tool is having some crater wear or some type of wear, then the indentation will get is not proper. So by seeing the indentation also you can say that the tool is wear, and you can go for the regrind of the tool or new tool. Next, using optical microscope, which is fitted with micrometer. So by seeing the microscope and by using micrometer, you can measure the depth of indentation and the width of the fracture or the length of the fracture. Using scanning electron microscope or by taking some same image, you can see the tool wear. So in the last 2-3 slides, we have seen the milling cutter or the single point tool. The images are same image, which is a scanning electron microscope image. Okay, the wear is clearly visible, and you can see different type of wear if you're taking such type of image. Scanning by telesur. So telesur normally used to measure the roughness in the workpiece. So by seeing the roughness also you can say that the tool is wear. Next one is radioactive methods. So using radioactive light, you can earlier they used to measure the wear, but it is health hazardous. So nowadays it is completely obsolete, and people are not using this type of methods for measuring the tool wear. So in this way you can measure the tool wear by using all these methods. And in the next class we will see how to calculate the tool life, what is tool life, and how to calculate the tool life. Thank you.